everybody? Welcome to the Embrace Her Legacy podcast, spring season 2021, episode 2. And we are talking Black men in marriage. I am so excited to talk to these two kings. I'm having conversation with kings today. Y'all know the Embrace Her Legacy podcast is the #1 personal development classroom for millennial women of color. And it couldn't be a podcast season without talking relationships. Like I have to talk relationships. So with me, I have two kings that I respect. First, we have my man's from NYU. We was in the NYU Wagner cohort together, Henry. You know, Henry, I'm like, Henry, is his last name Appiah or Appiah? Like, I'm just bugging like right now. Like, is it Appiah or Appiah?
Appiah, like it's called Appiah.
Okay, Henry Appiah, who's a nonprofit and education leader, and he's the host of Before the Crown Presents. And you can catch him on social media at King_Kwame_Black. And then we have my other brother, we have Fred P. Banny, founder of Conversations with Kings at FP Banny and at Conversations with Kings. So I feel like I'm having conversations with two kings. So like this is all gonna be amazing. So you guys can say hello, let the people know about you, who you are, what you do, all that jazz.
Okay. I guess I'll go first. You've already done a great job introducing me and my last name. So I once again say that I'm Henry. I'm the nonprofit leader for an organization called Playworks, where we bring safe and healthy play to kids. But outside of that, I love to read books, children's books at that. So I film myself reading children's book as part of a show called Before the Crown Presents Storytime. And I make the videos available for kids, children who look just like us. So that was always my goal, to provide access to adults who could read to these kids. So thank you.
Fred, you want to tell us about you and yourself?
Absolutely. First, I want to say thank you for just the opportunity. I'm glad to be here, glad to be with my brother, my fellow king, Henry. So my name is Fred P. Banny. I'm the founder of Conversation with King, which is the platform building boys into men and men into leader of influence and impact. That influence and impact first started at home, in your family, in the workplace, in your business, and then it extends in the community. So it's really about building emotionally intelligent men, respectable men, men of confidence, men of integrity, men of character. Because one thing that I say in our ethos, our creed is, you're born boys, responsibility make you men, choices make you king. At the end of the day, it comes down to the choices that we make every single day, right? Being a boy, that's how we're born naturally. So that's the work that I do on the platform with just building boys and working with men. I'm also I'm an engineer by trade, by career, I should say, construction engineer. And my life work is just developing people to discover who they are, discover whose they are, so that we can really live in alignment with who God has made us to be, so that we can become all that He has made us to be, and we can get and do all that He has called us to do. Because there's a transition that happens, right? You go from your job, you go to your career, and then you go to your calling. So at the end of the day, we weren't born just for a job or a career. We were born to answer a call. And that's the work that I am so passionate about, starting in young men and my fellow kings. And so I'm glad to be here to share. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Oh my God. See, Fred, look at this is why I invited y'all. Like, y'all are the perfect two men to talk to. So just to give the listeners and viewers, if you're watching or listening, just context of how I know these two men. So I kind of shouted Henry out. Henry and I, we were at our cohort together. We both were pursuing our Masters of Public Administration. We were in the same cohort. And then Henry, I actually saw like go through like dating, engaged, married, right? And then Fred is more family because me and his wife, Cordelia Banny, whom has been a guest on this show and whom is one of the most revered and favored guest speakers for our programs for young women. Cordelia is like that's really like my sister girlfriend. This is her husband, and I actually was at your wedding back in 2015. And I know, Henry, I was supposed to be at your wedding last year, but you were in Jersey, and I was like, bro, I don't have a ride. Like
it's a pandemic. It was
a pandemic, right? And I know you're we'll get into what 2020 brought for you personally, but I know the pandemic influenced you were like, all right, I'm getting married, right?
Right, right.
So this is how I know these two men. And I really wanted to talk to men who I know take marriage seriously, and are serious about their vows, and they out here representing marriage in a wonderful, wonderful way, and men whom I respect, and two of you men who I respect. And I think your wives are beautiful and amazing. Okay. So, and then hopefully that, that marriage anointing falls over here, because the reason why I wanted to do this episode. So first I was just talking to my girlfriends, and I was like, you know what should my podcast episodes be? And one of my girlfriends was like, listen, I really want to know what's going on with Black men around marriage. And this is my single girlfriends, because a lot of my single girlfriends are meeting men who don't seem to be marriage minded. Does that make sense? Like, it's just like, ugh. And it's like, we are not as young. We are not spring chickens. So we're all dating and we're in our mid late 30s, and just having those conversations with men seem to be a little bit more prevalent. I'm like, nah, marriage is not my thing. If it happens, it happens. And then I saw this clip inside of Black Love. I don't know if you are familiar with the show Black Love. Okay, so love Black Love. For those of you who don't know, it's an amazing show on the OWN network, highlighting black marriages. And one of the husbands, Alano Miller, he said, how women always come to him like, hey, do you have a brother, a cousin, a son, something like something? He's like, yeah, I have great Black men in my circle, but you have to meet a man who wants to be married. And that like stuck out to me. I was like, oh my gosh. And so that's kind of what I wanted to get on, talk to you and talk to Black men who are in what I deem to be amazing, successful marriages. And that does not mean everything is perfect all the time. It just seems like it's surrounded in love and rooted in something strong. And I just wanted to have an insightful conversation with men about marriage, pressures of marriage, commitment, being able to protect and provide, all that good stuff. So I want to jump right in. So I want to ask you, share with the audience the moment you knew that your wife was the one. And Fred, you have an interesting story, so I hope you.
Yeah,
I know the story.
I'm gonna let Henry go first. So go ahead, brother. I'm gonna yield to you on this one. Yes.
All right, sounds good.
We're gonna get all
So
real. I got you.
when I knew that my wife was the one, I would say when we dated. All right, so first we met. We weren't really dating. I told her, I wasn't serious about being in a relationship, and I was actually really honest about it, and so honest that she told me, all right, well then I'm out. So I was out. Like that was real talk. So during the year, I said, you know what, like let me try to re-engage with this beautiful woman. And first, and her name is Brittany, right? So Brittany, we get to the next summer, and she finally received my request for a date.
Received your request for a date?
Received it, right? She it finally got to her.
I love it.
So so once we started dating, that second go around, there was a point where she went to New Orleans for a friend's bridal shower, or not bridal shower, their engagement party, whatever it is. Um, and I remember she called me. I was watching her dog, and she called me, and she was like, "Man, the plane is not coming into Newark anymore. It's gonna like I don't know how to get home. The plane was canceled and everything." And I said, "Well, why don't you just take it to Philly?" So she said, "Well, I don't like. How am I gonna get from Philly back to Newark?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll pick you up." And like I didn't even think twice about it. And she was like you sure? And I was like, of course. So when she got to the airport, well, before she got to the airport, I packed the dog up into the car, and I was just driving, and I legitimately felt like I was like picking up my wife at a time
Mm.
where, even though we were dating, I was just happy to go see her, and it literally, I didn't feel like I was going out of my way. So when she got in the car, I was just happy to see her. And when we were driving back, that was actually the first time that like she, held me accountable and said, "Hold up, like if you're serious, like let me know." And I was like, "I'm serious, of course I am." And that was like, not only was that the first time that we admitted that like we were actually like boyfriend and girlfriend, but for me, I think that's when I realized like she was the one at the same time.
Okay. What changed, Henry? Because I remember this. I clearly, and I'm glad that you're being transparent and authentic, because I remember that time where you were kind of like, nah, I'm good. And then it went
Yeah,
from nah, I'm good to, and then I remember seeing the change in your eyes when you started talking about her. And you were like, I'm ready to ask her and all this other stuff. And you had all these, so we were just like so supportive and so like clapping for you. So what
yeah.
changed in that period of time that you went to like, I'm not ready for anything serious, to now I'm picking you up from the airport and now I'm envisioning you as my wife?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had a great example of my parents, and I saw how they worked as a unit. And so for me, even when I was in my 20s, I always said, you know, my wife is going to be like my other half, is going to be my unit. So, you know, bringing like packing the dog literally in that moment and going to go pick her up, I was like, yeah, I'm about to go pick up my partner, right? Like it didn't feel like I was picking up my girlfriend. I felt like I was picking up my partner who I was like, yo, that's my wife. Like that's what this is the feeling that I always wanted.
My heart is warm.
That's dope.
Exactly.
That's
That's your heat. The heat's up.
that's dope.
So silly. What about you, Fred? Now, Fred, you and Cordelia go back. Like y'all have a story.
We
So
do,
tell
we do.
me.
And yeah, we do. And over the course of the conversation, because I just don't want to dump everything, you know, but definitely I'm open to really be transparent and sharing, because I think the purpose of us being here tonight is to help some people, you know. So yeah, so the question was, when did I know she was
Mm-hmm.
my wife, right? I knew that she was my wife when, you know, back in the day, I used to write poetry. I used to do spoken word, right? And I had never shared my writings with anybody else. And I knew that, you know, my wife, Cordelia is my wife because she challenged me. She challenged me to grow spiritually, intellectually, you know, emotionally. Like, you know, I had prior relations, you know, prior to her, but because everything that I do, I try to be very intentional. And because time is the most, you know, important commodity that we have. So I try in my life as much as I can not to waste my time. So my wife was the only woman that I saw a future with. Everybody else, it was cool, you getting to know them, but beyond the physical attraction, it wasn't really nothing there. And you know my wife, she's so French, she's gorgeous, outside beautiful, but when we had conversations and whatever, I was like, yo, I could see myself building a life with this woman. And she is the only woman that I ever introduced to my mother officially.
Wow.
So the funniest story is when I introduced my wife to my mom, this is what my mom, she said, oh, that's my daughter-in-law. I was just like, whoa, what do you mean, mom? Chill. She's like, because that's the first woman, a girl you ever brought to me. But this is a decision that I made way back and I never shared with anybody, but she was watching. In my mind, I said that I don't want to have a revolving door of women bringing to my mom. Oh, mom, here's this my girlfriend. 6 months later, I have another person. So I was just like, listen, you don't know how, pardon me, you don't know how life turns out, right? But I'm like, when I find someone who I see a future with, who I can see as my purpose partner, where we can build a life together, that's when I'm going to introduce this person to my mother. And if it doesn't pan out, if not the person, that's okay. But at least I saw a vision with them. And she was the only one, and she is the only one. And it's amazing, man, because the conversation, we can talk about the most, you know, trivial things, and then we can have some deep intellectual conversation. And I'm a thinker. So to have a person who can just flow through the spectrum like that, I'm like, yo, she's dope. And it was just, I'm blessed, man, honestly, because my family just fell in love with her. My family loves her. And you know, some of the challenges that men have is the in-laws, right? Where the daughter-in-law don't get along with the mother. Because I'm very close with my mom. You know, my wife calls me my mama's boy. I don't think so. I just think I love my mom. She loves me, but whatever, right? But I'm very close with my mother. So one thing that I pray for, because she is truly the woman that I pray for. One thing that I pray for, I'm like, God, I want a woman who gets along with my mother, because I don't never want to be put in a position where I have to choose or try to mediate a situation. Now, obviously, my wife comes first above everyone, but the blessing that I have in my life is my wife and my mother gets along so well that sometimes things happens in the family, I'm the last to know. my mom would call her and they all having conversation and talking. I'm just like, yo, am I a chopped liver? Like, why am I just now finding out about this? But I love it because I don't have to exert so much energy in trying to or navigate or try to fix that relationship. You know what I'm saying? It just did open relationship. And I have the same thing with my mother in love, you know, her mother. So it's just a blessing. But it ain't always, like Maria said, it didn't come easy. It was a journey for us to get here. But when I saw that she was the one, that's what made me so intentional to stay through those tough times for us to be here now. And I'll get into some of those tough times later on, but that's it.
I thank you. I thank you. I love this. This is doesn't it gives a single woman hope. Like I knew she was the one when. So it sounds like when y'all were dating or meeting these women, were you intentionally looking for wives? I know Henry, you weren't, but Henry, I know, but Fred, did you? Were you looking for a wife? And if you did, if you weren't, if you did, or if you weren't looking for a wife, did you ever want to get married? Like, did you grow up saying, "Okay, I'm gonna get married one day"?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely grew up saying that I wanted to get married and I was looking for a wife. That's how come I was able to, when I was able to identify that she was the one. Because you're always going to find what you look for. If you're
Mm.
not looking for something, the best thing that you need, that you want in your life, can come right into your life, right in your face, but you won't be able to recognize it simply because you're not looking for it. And I was looking for her, so that's why I was able to distinguish the qualities that she had from the other relations or the other women I had encountered. And part of that too, because you know, I had marriage model for me, right? Now, my mother, my biological mother and father did not get married, but growing up, I had a mother and I had a stepfather, and my dad also, you know, have a stepmom. So I had that relationship, and also being a man of faith, my faith is the lens through which I view life. So you know, in the book of beginnings, God said it is not good for a man to be alone. So now, if I am going to fulfill the purpose that God has on my life, I need a helpmeet. And I need to, it is my job, because the Bible says he who finds a wife finds a good thing and he obtains favor. So it is my job to find that wife, right? God can put her in proximity, but I have to find her. So I have to be dating with intention. Oftentimes people out here just dating just to have a good night, and you just wasting your time, because dating is just collecting data. And now the data that I'm collecting from all these people that I encounter, now I have to sit back and analyze that data, the life that I envision for my life, the life that I pray for God to have me live. Well, first of all, the life that he has called me to live, right, according to the vision and plans that he's placed in my heart. Is this the suitable me to help me accomplish this, these or this purpose that he has for my life? So now I have to analyze that data, and I had to make sure that she is, that the perfect fit for me. And so yeah, to be more direct, yes, I was looking for marriage. Now looking for something and being ready is two different things.
Oh, say that again. Say
Looking
that again,
or looking
brother.
for something and being ready for that thing is two different things. But the blessing in that is, if you have the desire for something, now the honors, the responsibility is on you to make yourself compatible for what it is that you're looking for. Because if you don't make yourself compatible, that blessing that came into your life can now become a curse, or it become a burden, because you simply wasn't able to underbear the blessing. So I say this quickly. I'm an engineer by trade, do construction engineering, right? The most important part of a building I share with people when I go out and speak is the foundation. So depending on how high you want to go in the building, you have to go deep with the foundation, or depending on the soil, you have to call a spread footing, or you have to drill in piles, not to get technical. But you need a foundation that can uphold the building. We need strong foundation that can uphold the life that it is that we want to live. So as men, we are leaders. Conversation with Kings, part of the work that I do is helping men get clarity on your vision, get clarity on manhood, get clarity on who you are first, because you're going to have to lead this woman. So if you're trying to lead somebody, you don't know where you're going, how does that happen?
Come
And
on,
I'm gonna
Fred.
stop over there. I don't want to take over. Go ahead.
You're saying the sir determined. Okay. Fred just gathered. Now, Henry, you said something that stuck out, and Fred, you kind of said the same thing. That both of y'all talked about having marriage modeled to you and growing up seeing marriage, so that made you open and say, I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna have, or aim to have what I saw growing up. Now, I just share something I shared with one of my homegirls that I noticed. Every man that I wanted for this podcast episode was from a specific cultural heritage and background. And I went to my homegirl, and my homegirl who's Ghanaian, Henry, I know you're Ghanaian, and I know, Fred, you're from Liberian, right? And then I know Cordelia, your wife, is Ghanaian. And I was like, and my homegirl who's Ghanaian, look at y'all.
Yes, sir.
Look at that.
You did the right thing.
Yes, sir. I saw the name up here. I was like, oh, that's my brother right there. I know.
There you go.
Look at it. So I noticed, and I went to my homegirl who, Henry, y'all are both Ghanaian, and y'all have the same birthday. And I was like, is this something that African men grow up? She was like, yes, cultural. It's like what you grow up seeing, cultural norms, cultural values. If they grow up it's more likely in a Ghanaian African home. Like if they grow up seeing a marriage, they're going to want to be married. So I want to know, how did any cultural norms or values influence your entire outlook on marriage?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had the examples in my parents, and as Fred mentioned, I wasn't necessarily looking, but I always knew I was ready, right? So I never, like I told myself prior to meeting Brittany, I remember telling myself, like, God, I'm gonna find my wife. I'm gonna, I even brought NYU into my prayers. I said, I'm gonna just go to the school. I'm gonna apply for the school and see what happens. I'm gonna, get the job that I want. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And I kind of, and I let the work happen. So when Brittany came into my life, I realized, like, oh, like I never had any intentions of looking for you, but I'm not gonna lose this, right? So I said, like, this is not something that I'm gonna let slip. Like, I knew I was prepared for it. I had not one doubt that I was prepared for it. And again, that comes from my family. That comes from my mother and my father, who I saw them, be some of the best teammates ever. I also saw them be, roommates who don't talk to each other, right? Like I've seen multiple sides of it, but at the end of the day, they always understood that their purpose was to be loving to one another, but to also raise their kids, right? And to show their kids that when you walk out into this earth, you let everyone know that you come from this home and that you come from this family, and that, like, whatever goes on in this family, nobody else is gonna figure it out. Like, y'all are young kings, y'all are young queens. So it makes sure that that's what you're portraying. So for me, I knew that Brittany was that queen. I envisioned myself saying, when we have children, we are going to be the kings and queens that they look towards to be in the future. So yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to my parents, because they didn't always talk it out. Counseling and therapy, that's a real thing. Therapy, I'm supportive of it, and I didn't always see that in my parents, but I did see the love to understand one another, and if the other person asked, the other person was ready to listen, and that's what I saw from my parents.
Yeah, I would jump in. Yeah, not absolutely right. I think cultural values has a lot to do with it, because we always model, what's in front of us, what we see. It's very difficult, or probably impossible, to become what you don't see, because you have no reference point, right? Mm-hmm. But there is hope, because I think even beyond a cultural reference point is my spiritual reference point. Like I said, my life is lived through the lens of my faith. And, like I said, again, if I am going to become all that God has made me to be as a man, I need a helpmate, because I can't travel this life alone. If I fall, who's there to pick me up? Case in point, this week actually makes a year since I contracted COVID. So last March, around this time, I got COVID. And the blessing in that, obviously, I'm here, I recovered, but I had it pretty bad. And my wife, man, she's amazing. She nursed me to health. Now imagine if I didn't have a partner, mm-hmm. and I'm home all by myself. You know what I'm saying? Now, there are some people who had it and they came over. So now the point that I'm trying to make is it makes life a bit easier. So having that cultural value matter does make a difference. But your history does not define your destiny, right?
Mm.
So even if you come from an environment where that was a model, I have a saying when I speak to young men that we are born looking like our parents, but we're going to die looking like our choices.
Ooh,
Right.
you better
So
speak a word.
that's why that's why the ethos for Conversation with Kings is we are born boys, responsibility make us men, choices make us kings. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to choices. It comes to a point in our lives where we have to stop blaming our parents. We have to stop blaming our environment. We have to take responsibility. What your parents did, what your parents did not do, it has to come like Dodge, the company say, grab life by the horn, right? We have to become responsible. So what I say, yes, you may not have a model for you. You may not have come from an environment what that is, but if you desire something and you are of age, 18 or 21 and above, it is on you to seek out the mentors, to read the books, to put yourself in the environment, to and to hang out with people, your circle of five, the people who lives are attractive to you, right? I want that. Like my father, I never had conversations about relationship with my father nor my stepfather. Everything that I know, I learned by catching it, by being around, being in the right environment, through reading books, through going to workshops and seminars, by really truly investing in myself. And that cultural value to go back, because within African culture, family is everything. Family matters, right? Or even more, when you look at our biblical heritage, family matters. When you think about how men were referenced back in the day, and even in certain cultures now, you're not referenced by your name. My first name, Fred, means nothing to me. What means everything, what I would die for and what I'm willing to lay my life down for is my last name. Growing up, my mother used to tell me whenever I was leaving the house and I got dressed, she said, "You leaving this house, I want you to remember three things. First, you represent God when you're out in the streets. You represent your family before you represent yourself, in those order." So what that did, it gave me a sense of identity, of value. And that I knew I just couldn't be out there acting any kind of way because I wasn't just representing myself, right? So I think family value does play a huge role. But if it's something that's something that you do desire, put yourself in the right environment. Don't let your history or dictate your destiny because we can't learn. And just because we come from we come from culture where it was modeled, like Henry mentioned, therapy, sometimes doesn't mean it was displayed in the most healthy way, right? But that's why we all have to grow. And I say, whatever our parents did, they did the best that they knew they could. And so we have to let some people off the hook because we all deal with trauma. We all have experienced trauma. But once we become of age, it is on us now to take the responsibility to seek our healing. Because if we don't, we're just going to bleed and just perpetuate that into further generations.
Thank you so much, Fred. You dropped so many knowledge. And one thing, I thank you for sharing about, last year contracting COVID. And I know Henry, you also contracted COVID and you were the first person I knew to have it. And then I know that influence. I remember you said something when we all caught up a couple of months after on a Zoom, and you were like, that made me want to get married even more, right? I remember you saying something that stuck out. You said, I didn't want to die as her fiance because y'all were engaged at the time. I wanted to die as her husband. And I remember that when you said that, like, pierced my soul. So can you share a little bit about your experiences last year contracting COVID as well, and how that, influenced your further desire to get married?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, Fred, we like brothers. Like
Yes,
I
sir.
remember
Yes,
last
sir.
just at this time, it was the same exact thing. Yeah, and so when I contracted it, she was telling me to like stop going outside and stuff, and I was like, nah, we're gonna be fine. Like we good. Trust me, that's the other people. They gonna get it, not me. So then when I started coughing it a little too much, that's when we realized that all right, I might got something. And for her, I think that she also understood like who she was to me as well. So like she was like, "Oh, she's protecting herself, but she was like you're not on your own. So she got into bed also, and then she caught it also, right? So she contracted COVID as well. And then our symptoms, started happening. Like mine would happen, and then hers would happen like maybe 2 or 3 days afterwards. So I just remember one day her saying like, "Hey, like, have you been able to taste anything?" And I'm literally like eating ketchup or something. Like, "Oh no, I haven't tasted anything for like the last day," and I just realized it. But I say that to say that like a pandemic, a virus, a global catastrophe, and it's me and her, right? Like we're every day, it's her and I, it's me and her, and we had planned to get married this past February 2021. We got engaged December 2019.
19, yep.
Yeah. And then we wanted to get married February 2021, like in Jamaica or an island, right? In warm weather. So COVID happens. Now we're just asking ourselves, hey, like if something happened today, like this is it. Like we arm in arm. We ended up sleeping on the couch together for the last for a couple of nights. Like, yo, tomorrow we wake up or you don't wake up and I wake up, like we together, right? And once we started realizing that we were getting better and we were healing, we started talking to each other and saying, why are we waiting to get married? Like, what is the wait for? The wait's for everybody else, right? We can do this tomorrow if we wanted to. Of course, we want our family, but why are we waiting? And in the moment of vulnerability, we also had to experience, couples therapy, premarital counseling. And that was revealing, right? Because our primer for premarital counseling was that we just experienced COVID together. So we can literally get through anything together through premarital counseling. Like if leaving the toilet seat is a problem, we just survived a virus. So we're gonna be okay. And so immediately after, I remember one of the last days of premarital counseling, we looked at each other and we said, "There's no reason to wait. If something were to have happened, I would have wanted to be your husband. If something happened, I would have wanted you to be my wife. So let's find a park. Let's do something." And as Maria, as you mentioned earlier, our families came together and we made a park wedding happen in September 5th. And one of the best days of my life. Like literally, God blessed us, blessed us, blessed us, blessed us. But I'm blessed to have healed from COVID, but I'm blessed to have experienced it with my best friend, partner, wife, unit, like everything. Like I was glad for that journey, the journey that we'll tell our kids about.
My heart is warm, Henry, and it is not my heat. Okay. It is all this love. And can I just say something to your family? Because I've been around both your families. Although, Henry, I didn't make it to your wedding, I was at your graduation party. And then, Fred, I was at your wedding. And I don't remember if there was a rehearsal dinner, but I had been around you. And the one thing I would say, you guys are surrounded by love. Like, it's thick. It permeates the love and support that you have around your family. So I'm just like, I'm grateful to be a part of your village, because I'm like, I know your relationships, and I'm like, I'm so just grateful to be a part of your village. Now, Henry, you said premarital counseling. Now, Fred, I'm going to ask, did you guys go to premarital counseling? Why or why not? And I'm assuming that Fred did. I'm just going to guess that Fred did, because I know who his wife is. But why was premarital counseling important for you prior to getting married?
So, ta-da-da, we did not.
No way.
No, listen, not
no way.
Well, listen,
I would never expect.
I know exactly. Listen, my wife and I, we've lived 6 lives over, man. She's my writer. And Henry, before I answer the question, you said something that was key at the end, bro. And I just wanted to salute that. And I think that's what a lot of people miss. You were glad and you were so happy that you got to experience that with your wife. The experiences of life is worth it when we have somebody to go through with, be it positive or negative, man. That makes a whole difference. So
Thank
So
you.
here's the thing, you got it, bro. So my wife and I, we've been together. Well, we are married for 6 years, been together for 13 years. So met my wife in 2008. Uh, got engaged. No, 2005. I'm sorry. Got engaged in 2008. Was supposed to get married in 2010. 2 months before the wedding, we called it off. Two
Do you
months.
want to share why you called it
Yeah,
off?
yeah. I'm
Okay, you
going
can
in.
share
I'm
why.
going in. I'm here. I'm here. If you
Okay,
want help,
good, 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 good.
2 months. Now, hall is paid for. My tux custom is already made. My wife dress is already made. She got her dress somewhere in one of these routers places, right? And 2 months before the wedding, we called her simply because we just weren't meshing. And I said now people look at our lives and see our families all love and everything, but at the time, family weren't meshing because we weren't meshing. And you come from two different villages, if you will, two different families who are passionate and love one another. Everybody's going to hold their position and take sides for whoever, you know what I'm saying, wherever you come from. You got to roll with the home team, right? And because we weren't on the same accord, you know, family weren't on the same accord as well. And we serve in our church, and I think sometimes too, when you are so close and in your church, in we've been around people, great marriages model around us. We always have intentional conversations with married couples. So that was kind of like unofficial marriage counseling, if you will, but like to sit down and go with the counselor, we did not do that, which is something that I advise everybody to go to, and not just only pre-marital counseling, but even after you're married, go to counseling. Because sometimes people use counseling as when you're in trouble. No, that's a maintenance. You want your marriage to be great, just like you maintain your car. Go to counseling because we're all evolving, we're all growing every time. So you want to make sure you're learning one another and you make sure that you're on the same accord. So 2010, we did not get married, and we called it off. Like I said, we served in the church, so it was difficult. We had to see each other 3 times a week because we were in leadership in our church, very involved. So I had to see it on Tuesday, I had to see it on Friday, I got to see it on Sunday.
Wait, so y'all called it off and y'all broke up. Y'all didn't
We
just
broke
call
up.
off. Y'all broke up, okay? Because there's a
We,
difference. There's
we
a difference between calling off a
yeah,
wedding and
we
breaking
we
up. Y'all
we
didn't
call
broke
it
Wow.
up.
we
So
call it off.
imagine you got to
Yeah,
break up with somebody and see them 3 times a week.
3 times a week,
Wow.
man, 3 times a week, and I'm gonna tell you, it was tough. Because here's the thing, and that was part of the impetus to why I started Conversation with Kings. Because the reality is, women, you guys talk, you have a wonderful support system, and when something like that happens, the women always cater to. But men, we got emotions too. We hurt. You know what I'm saying? We got feelings too. But sometimes people think, oh, you're a man, get it over with, you cool, right? But I was hurting because this is a woman that I love so dearly. And she was the one. She is the one. But what I discovered through that process was, even though she was the one, the, the timing wasn't the right time because God operates in timing. So it was 5 years after before we got married. We got married in 2015. So during that 5 year period, I had to grow up. She had to
Mm,
grow up.
mm.
That's why I said, even though you know what you want in something, you want something, but doesn't mean you're necessarily ready for something, right? That she had to grow up, she had to do her work, and I had to grow up. I had to do my work. I had to sit down and evaluate and take responsibility for what happened or what didn't happen. Because sometimes it's easy to blame other people when something doesn't go wrong. But something that my pastor said, and I've really taken to heart, is like if you have 5 cents in a dollar, you are just as responsible for the person who has 95 cents. Because without that 5 cents, the equation does not equate to a dollar, right? So I had to grow up, and she went away, and I had to build my life, and it was hard because you have people. I'm a pretty cool dude, if I'm gonna say myself. I'm just pretty intentional about living, right? And I'm a good friend. And sometimes people say, "Oh, you're not going to say that." No, I say that because I'm very intentional about my friendships. I invest in my friendship, so I can say with all confidence and positivity that I'm a good friend because I do that. So you will have people trying to hook you up, yo, I got this girl going a date. But like I said, she was the person who I saw my future with. And I did some things that had me looking foolish because I pursued her, even though she was stiff arming me the whole time. You know what I'm
Uh,
saying? And it hurt, but it can but it came to a point where I said, you know what? Okay, I have to live my life. I have to grow. I have to build. And when I started doing that, man, you know, I guess the attraction kind of rekindled. And she started saying, oh man, this is a really cool dude. Like people are really attracted to this dude. People really like him, and he's lived. And the whole time I was still feeling her too, right? But I was just like, listen, we just have to go through our process. We have to grow up. And if this is truly of God, we will find our way back together. And that happened. And then 2015, we got married and we had the most beautiful wedding. And since then, you know, we have a wonderful marriage. Now, it's not all, you know, peaches and cream, but it's worth it. And I would never trade it. And our story is just most recently, like you've been to, you know, because we host session for men and women. I do some, you know, I do conversation with King. She does investors, but together we host something called Adjust Your Crown.
Mm-hmm.
And when men and women get together, relationship conversation always comes up, right?
Of
And
course.
that's when we started sharing the story, and people be like, "Wow, I never knew that." I'm like, "Yeah, you know, it took a minute, and the healing process and all of that stuff." So, yeah, but we here, and it's beautiful.
Y'all here,
And
and
it's
I know
beautiful.
that story because you know your
Yeah,
wife is somebody I call my friend, and
yeah,
your story really gives me it's an amazing love story. And I remember at your wedding, the thing was God makes everything beautiful in its time. Like that was from the book of Ecclesiastes, and it was so perfect. And I was like, wow, like you know, God knows what He's doing, ladies. We got to trust His time. We got to trust His time, and y'all were in each other's orbits. It just wasn't the right time.
yeah.
Now, Fred, you said something at the beginning, and I wanted to shout. You said a man who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And you also said, you know, you had to be looking for something. Now, the both of you. I love Britt. Tell Britt I love her for telling you that she wasn't messing you with you no more when you said she wasn't serious. Britt was like, I'm done, right? So, what advice do you give to women, single women right now, who want to be married, but because of the pressures of like, I guess feeling like you got to be out there, she's more like pursuing them instead of letting them come pursue her?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a challenging one because I think that um, self-worth, like that matters. Like you got to know your self-worth, right? You got to know your self-worth. So even pursuing someone, that to me that don't make you desperate. It just means that you know what you want.
Right.
And but if it doesn't equate to your value, either you're going to invest in it or you're going to walk away. So I think to answer your question about, you know, um, women who are, I guess, pursuing, honesty matters. You know, being upfront, the right person um, is going to hear what you have to say,
You know
respond to
what,
it.
Henry?
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
me stop you because I didn't frame the question the way I wanted to frame it, and I make an error. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is like not necessarily pursuing, because pursuing is fine. You date, you do your
yeah.
thing. But more like now you're out here, you're dating, and you want marriage, but you keep meeting unmarried men who are not don't want to be married, or you're in a relationship, or you're dating, or you're in a situationship with someone who does not want marriage, and now you do, and now you feel like as a woman, and a lot of women put themselves in a situation that you're constantly bringing it up, and that person that'll get married, and you out here like, you know, what do I do? Because I know a lot of women who are in that situation who want to take the next step, but the guy doesn't, or the men that they're meeting don't want to.
Yeah. Once again, I think that's just as challenging. First of all, it's God's time. Fred, you know, brought it up earlier, but it's God's time, right? So when you're meeting these men, I say that I love my wife more every day, right? I learn about her every day. I love her more today than I did the day that we got married, and it's because I knew that maybe maybe we didn't know what marriage was going to look like, but we knew we were ready to invest in it. And I think that for whatever reason, whether it's trauma, whether it's, you know, the examples, whether it's the circles that men hang out with, but sometimes they're not there mentally to see what they have and be ready for that investment. And I know friends who will invest in cars before they invest in women, right? I know men who
Ooh.
who will invest in stocks before they invest in the right partner. So
Oh,
it's like
come on.
if you have the mentality that life is an investment, and your partner is an investment, then you're gonna do the right thing. But on the other end, for a woman, sometimes it's challenging to convince your partner of that. So I've said a lot. I'll defer to Fred right now and maybe think about it a little
Circle
bit
back.
more.
I'll
Yeah,
circle
but let
back.
me defer to Fred.
Yeah, so the question was women who has a desire, women who have desire to get married, but they're encountering men who
Who don't?
not on the same page. Um, I go back to what I said, right? You always find what you look for. So, you know, the ego, the bird, the ego. I love the ego, right? Because the story goes, the folktale goes, the ego never gets caught up in rain. Because whenever it's about to rain, it fly above the clouds. So, and then that's how it escaped the rain. So when the cloud, the storm is coming, it flies into the storm, and then the storm lifts it and puts it above the clouds, and it escapes rain. So whenever an eagle is in flight, when it sees another bird, it knows that's another eagle, because only eagles are flying up here.
Right.
Mm.
Regular birds, chickens and blue jays, they don't have the ability to get up here.
Mm.
So when the eagle is in flight, it sees another bird, it knows that's an eagle. That talks about being on alignment. It talks about being on the same frequency. It talks about being so whatever you're looking at, whatever you're looking for, where you look is determined by what it is that you're looking for.
Mm.
You know, so if you go into the club, you may not find a man who's ready to get married. Again, not to say men who are ready to get married don't have fun and go to the club. I'm just saying, maybe change the circle that you're in, change the places that you were going, change the people you were hanging out with, change the conversation you were having. Speak to married people. Do you have a friend, whatever. And so, listen, during our culture now, I really have a sensitive heart for our sisters, for our queens, because and this is a challenge to men, right? So I really feel their plight, because there are women who want to get married. My encouragement to you is, in your process of waiting, enjoy it. There's a scripture that says you have need of patience, because after you've done the will of God, then you shall get the promise. So say marriage is your promise. You're doing what it is that you know to do. You still need to exercise patience. But that doesn't mean you sit back in a passive way.
Yeah.
Keep developing yourself. Keep exploring the world. Take vacations and just live life to the fullest. Because I tell you, a confident woman is the most attractive thing out there. A woman who knows herself is the most attractive thing. When you were just out there throwing yourself and you seem needy, men run from that,
Mm.
because we like challenge. We
Ooh.
like challenge. We are wired to pursue. So that's why I'm not for women who are proposing to men to get married. I'm not for that, because if you do that, now you are taking a man out of his element.
Mm.
So if you try to do that, you have to now try to maintain that, because now you have to forever pursue him, because he can later on turn around and tell you, listen, you did this. I wasn't ready for this. You came up with this, right? So it's definitely okay to put yourself in proximity to make your interest known if you're attracted, to a person, to a guy.
So
But
that
then
means it's okay to slide in his DMs, Fred? That's what you say?
certainly, I think so. I think so. But then after you do that, right, you've made your
Yeah.
intentions known. And
What
if
happened?
he's the right guy,
Mhm.
then he's supposed to pursue you then.
Right.
Now you're not the one supposed to be chasing him. You just let him know,
Right.
here, listen, I'm here. I think you're cool. I think there's something there's this energy there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might like to get to know you a little better. And then you fall back and see if he's really real about it. He's gonna pursue you. But if you're the one, we're supposed to be the one planning the dates and doing all these things, right? Initially. Now when you get married, definitely the man want to feel valued. Your wife needs to do some things too. But initially the man, making the plans, taking you out and doing all these things, because that shows interest.
Okay.
One thing I'm very proud of, And my wife would tell you this in a second. She never had to second guess if I wanted her.
Wow.
Even during our 5 years of breakup and even how we broke up and calling up the wedding, I lost a lot of money. All of that stuff. Even when I was pursuing her during those 5 years and she was stiff arming me, I would send her flowers, I would send her cards. Like even I have friends, I have people who I knew be like, yo, just find another person. You looking foolish out here. You looking crazy. But that's what love will have you do. Love will have you look stupid. And as a man, if you find somebody who you truly know and you believe in your heart is the right one, if you're not willing to look foolish for love, then you're not ready. Because at
Ooh.
the end of the day, it does not matter what anybody else says. You have to define for yourself what your life going to be.
Mhm.
Too many people got opinions. You listen to the wrong people, all of that stuff. That's how people can steer you in the wrong way. So I know I said a lot, but to the sisters who has the desire to get married and men are not ready, just change the circle, change the places, right? Because one thing you cannot give a person is desire.
Mhm.
You can give them books, you can give them, but they have to want it. And
Yep.
to the brothers out there who are out here, I could tell you this. Listen, I'm an entrepreneur. You know, listen, build your life, build your business and all of that. But I can guarantee you there's another level to life that you have not
Mm-hmm.
experienced if you don't have a desire to get married.
Wow.
Because I know executives that run companies, Fortune 500 companies, that would tell you that they won't do business with certain people if they're not married.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What that tells you when you marry, it shows you're committed.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you're faithful. It shows you have integrity. Now, can you be single and have integrity? Absolutely. Can you? But it's levels to this thing called life. It's levels. Marriage comes with a different level of pressure, with a different level of weight,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
right? And also too, it takes it to a whole different level. Your support system. Like every great man that have achieved great feats, I guarantee you had an amazing support system. We look at the heroes of our
Mm-hmm.
past. Martin Luther King could not have been if it wasn't for Coretta Scott King.
Come on,
You
Right.
know
speak
what I'm
the
saying?
Fact.
word.
Nelson Mandela could not have been if it wasn't for many. So like every great, we need that support system as men. So I just want to encourage brothers out there: do not let the culture to rob you of your future, because
Mm-hmm.
there is longevity in life when you are married. You're playing for the long. It's two options, right? You can play to get a quick buck, or you can play for the long haul. And if you're playing for the long haul, it's exponential growth. You might start off slow. It might seem everybody's running fast, but when you hit that curve, your life gonna look different. Your
Mm.
life is gonna look different. I tell people oftentimes
Facts.
right now it's a crave of entrepreneurship craze, which I'm excited about. People are being exposed to investing in the stock market, diversifying the portfolio and all of that stuff. But I say, okay, have you thought about diversifying your social portfolio?
Mm.
Not just
Mm.
your stock portfolio, but your social portfolio.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right.
The people you
I'm over
hang
here
out.
taking notes.
Taking notes. I'm
Nah,
like,
for
what?
real though, for real. Because that's
I'm
the
about to
thing.
be like, Fred, who y'all got? Who y'all know over there? I'm coming to Long Island.
But that's the thing, right? Because we have to leverage our relationships. Life is about leveraging networks. It's about relationship. People do business with people that they know, love, and trust. So I know Maria is a dope young woman. Now, if I see a brother out there who I know is ready for marriage, and listen, however it plays out, I don't know, but I'm willing to make an introduction because I know he's good. He's good for her, and I know she's good. Now, when I put my name on something, I hold that person accountable because he's in my circle. My thing is my friend's action reflects on me. Now, I'm not responsible for everything, but listen, I call you to the carpet. So that's a standard that I have amongst my close friends. Like we all elevate to excellence. Like there's a standard here. Excellence is a standard. It's not the exception, right? It's a standard. Now, do we get it right all the time? No. Do we make mistakes? Absolutely. But that's why we need community. That's why we need one another. That's what Conversation with Kings is about. So if Fred is tripping, if I'm speaking to somebody out of turn, pull me to the side and be like, bro, listen, you're not behaving like a king right now. That
Mm.
doesn't look good because that reflects on me. So the same way we leverage that for relationships. So I just want to encourage the single sisters out there, don't stop living your life. Be patient, but keep building. Because I'm go back to the scripture, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. You have to be wife material The man is finding you, even though you're not married, you have to be wife material, because when he finds you, you already have to be a wife,
Mm.
right? The ring does not make you a wife. The wedding day does not make you a wife. To Henry's point, knowing your self-worth, understanding your identity. I tell people, activities follows identity. If you don't know who you are, if you don't know whose you are, it's very difficult to know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So once you know those things, you know who I am, who you are, and what it is, that the values that you hold, the virtues, that your non-negotiables, you're not gonna take crap from anybody. And the things that you do, the places that you go, is going to be intentional, because I know this is not in alignment with who it is that I am. So that's what it'll be. So be a wife, but then for the men also, and I said it and I stop. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor with God. Right? Your wife
That
comes.
part. I
Your
was
wife.
going to insert that
Your,
part.
your
Yep.
wife comes with favor. I'm already a blessed man, but I'm doubly blessed because of my wife. I'm
Facts.
telling you, my life has grown exponentially because of my wife. Like, I cannot see me living without her. The joy that I have, the peace that I have, the value that I have as a man, the level of growth and awareness that I have, I can attribute a lot of that to her. Because that's what I said. I saw my picture because she challenged me.
Mm-hmm.
She challenged me to grow up, and I accepted the challenge. And because if I'm going to lead her, being that she's so sharp and brilliant, if I'm going to lead her, I have to be on my P's and Q's. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Because she's a strong, brilliant woman. So if I'm going to lead her, I have to, be doing what it is that I'm supposed to do. So there's favor that's available for us, man. There's favor that's available for you out there, single man. There's a woman out there who, when you guys get together, your life is gonna take off. So don't let these people in these streets tell you. Because I just heard something recently. I'm sorry. They said, "Oh, do you rather be married and unhappy, or do you rather be single and living your purpose and happy?" So I'm listening, but you're looking at life from a backwards perspective. Why can't it be, do you rather be living your life happy or purposeful and married? Why can't we have
Right.
all of that? Because by the grace of God, I have that.
Right.
So why, and Henry has that. So why can't we be? So we can look at the glass as three-quarter empty or quarter full. I choose to look at the glass as quarter full, because I have a growth mindset and I know there's room to grow. I
Mm-hmm.
don't look at things as being depreciated. I look at things, okay, it may not be to the top, but there's room to grow. So I look at it from that perspective. And that's the same thing that that's how I look at relationships. So be encouraged out there, sister. And trust me, through Conversation on Kings and through the work that Henry is doing, we out here working on these brothers, man. That's why I'm so passionate about my work, because we out here working on these brothers.
Y'all are out here doing it, and I'm like, Fred said so many things, but there was some things that stood out. So you said about, and I agree, I'm a single woman, and Fred has seen me in a relationship and out of relationship, and something that you said was about holding the kings around you accountable. And one
Mm-hmm.
thing I pray for now about my husband, I pray for his friends, because
Good.
and everybody in the audience knows my podcast. I've talked about what I experienced in my previous relationship and the infidelity, and his friends were no better, right? So I only imagine, and when you go through infidelity, and then you feel like you were boo boo the fool for everyone, because you like, all of y'all knew, it's because he didn't have, him and all his friends were out here doing the same thing. So now part of my prayer, and I'm like, Lord, this man, whomever it is that you have for me, make sure that I pray for his friends, for them to hold him accountable, for them to be men of integrity, because marriage brings challenges and you will be tempted. So if my husband is calling his line brother, his frat brother, his co-worker, his best friend, I need his best friend to be a sound person to say, nah, like, you got a good wife at home. Like, you need to get it together, because I have friends that will hold me accountable and will say, hey, Maria, you need to get it together. This is a good man. And you said another thing, Fred, about spaces that we find dating and men. So as a single woman and as out here dating, there is a stark difference. I can almost bring a profile of the man that I'll meet like at a lounge bar, type situation, or a man that I meet at like in a volunteering experience. If I'm speaking at a school, if we're at a charity fundraiser, those men and the men that and I'm not knocking, because I'm out here. I like to do it, have a good time, all that. So I'm gonna be out there having a good time. But I noticed that the men that I meet in those areas tend to be the men who are just like out here, not really looking for anything serious, blah blah blah. But the men that I meet in those purpose-minded related events, those men tend to be marriage-minded, want children, all that stuff. But okay, so Fred, you said something about a man who finds a wife obtains a favor from the Lord, so she has to be a wife. Are there kind of qualities that men look for in a wife? Because there's this like saying that says like a man knows immediately if he's gonna take someone seriously. But Henry, that wasn't your situation. So I want to know, like, are there specific qualities that men look for in a wife? I guess that depends on who you're talking to, right?
Right. I think that's a great deal. It depends who you're talking to. It depends what it is that, you know, a person value. But I think across the board, I speak for me. For me, I definitely want to, I was definitely looking for somebody who knew who they were, or at least had a foundation about knowledge and was growing in it. A person who was growth minded, a person who was ambitious, like, you know, go getter, got your own thing, a person who was confident, or a person also who's a good support system, who, you know what I mean, who was a learner, who had a quest for knowledge and for growth, because that's something that I value, because I never want to be still in life, right? If you're not learning, if you're not growing, you're dying. There's no, because life always goes on. So there's no still point. So life is moving, you're either moving forward or you're sliding back. So for me, those were the qualities I was looking for in a woman. And like I said, a person who, first of all, faith, grounded in your faith. That's number one, right? Because we had to be compatible, have a strong spiritual life, strong spiritual connection with Jesus, um, and you value herself, you know, because I value myself. So I wanted somebody, because I can't, the truth of the matter, and we grow in all of this, right? So I don't want to say this is not ready made. Like nobody comes ready made, but at least you have to have a foundation. You have to have a desire when you have these conversations. You can kind of discern, okay, this is this person, just through a conversation and where their mind's at and the things that they talk about, what it is that they want for the future. You can kind of see where people heads at. And for me, one of the things I wanted to be with somebody who just didn't want to settle for life, because I have big dreams. I just, big dreams and big goals, and that are bigger than me, right? I'm very legacy minded, and I want to do things that really, creates an impact and help other people. So I was looking for somebody who was purpose driven as well. And my wife is that. And it's so amazing, Maria and Henry, because our lives align so much. It's like only God could do this. You know my wife, exactly what I do for men, she does the same thing. And
Yep.
and so understanding just the nuances and the challenges, it makes it a bit easier, because we know what it takes. We're both speakers, and all of this thing, we travel, we do work, we have a foundation together, impacting people globally, and providing resources, all these things. So these are things that I value. So I wanted somebody who valued these things too, just like you just don't want to live a big selfish life, but you want to live an outer focused life. Understand that, God didn't make us just to acquire things, but he made us to impact people. And, so somebody who that was on that same page. And in speaking to my wife, man, and I'll share this with you guys, like I said in the beginning, right? I used to write my poems. I never shared with nobody. She was the only person, the first person I ever did. And my wife is an incredible writer. And she tried to deny this, but she's an incredible writer. And I would be at work on my lunch break writing poems. This is how I knew. I was like, yo, I'm head over heels for this girl. Because every night we would be on the phone for hours just reading poetry to one another, having conversations. And because she was so dope, and I knew I couldn't match up. I was like, I had to put my best foot forward. I'm like, because I'm very competitive, right? So I'm just like, I'm not gonna be out here talking roses of red, violets, and blue, and then she's out here just like dropping some prose and and beautiful poetry. And I was just like, yo, I've never had this before. I never had this. And one thing I love about my wife, talking about qualities, she's a good friend. She loves hard. She's a writer. She's a giver. I'm a giver, but I think she outdoes me, and I have to sometimes, because she would empty the bank account to give to people. So I have to be like, yo, hold on, chill. Like you know what I'm saying? We got goals, things too, but what that does, it put a fire in me now to want to go out there and get it. So we have those resources to give because that's our heart's posture, right? But for me, those are the things. I know I said a lot, but that's the key, man. Somebody who really knows themselves, loves God, is confident in who they are. Now you grow into this because as a man, one thing I've learned, I didn't know this before. And that's part of the things that, you grow into. Like I thought it was my responsibility to make her happy, or it was her responsibility to make me happy. It's not.
Mm.
Because I learned I could do everything that I thought would make her happy, and she could still choose not to be happy. There's nothing I can do. It is her. She is responsible. I have a saying, and this is trademark. It's not, but I'm going to trademark it. So, but it doesn't matter anyway. I have a saying that you are the CEO of your happiness.
Mm.
Stop outsourcing your happiness to other people. You cannot outsource your happiness. You are the CEO of your happiness. Just as we see of our businesses, you're the CEO of your life. That's your responsibility. It is not your mate's responsibility. I think a lot of times why people struggle in marriage and relationships because we put so much on the other person. And we might get into this a bit later if time allows, but we put so much on the other person. Like one person cannot be your all in all.
Right.
It just cannot. That's why I was speaking earlier about your social portfolio. How is your friends? Like, are you diversified? Can you go to somebody else for this? I don't go to my lawyer for accounting advice. That's not his specialty. I don't go to my doctor for counseling. Now, can he provide me some insight? Yeah, but he cannot go deep. You know what I'm saying? He can't because he does not have the expertise level. So that's what it is. But somebody who knows themselves, somebody who loves God, somebody who's confident, who has a purpose-driven mind. For me, that's it. And who has a growth mindset, because now everything that we don't know, because like Henry said, you don't know what marriage is going to bring. You don't know certain things. I did not know I thought I knew, but certain things that we had to go through is only by the grace of God we survived.
Mm-hmm.
And we might get to a place in our life and in just our speaking and stuff where we share some things, but we've been through some things, Maria, some things you can't even believe.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through some things together that people who probably been married for 25 years hasn't been through. And it has nothing to do with any infidelity or anything, but just the trials and the struggles of life. But we made it through and we here and we're stronger for it. So,
Love it.
you know.
Love it. So we're gonna talk about something and we're gonna talk about shmoney.
Oh,
That's how it goes.
We gonna talk about shmoney because we making it sound all giggles and nice, but being able to protect and provide for your family is a huge thing. So I want to actually bring up a research article. 33 Black men participated in this research from age 18 to 72. They represented a variety of relationship statuses, with men reporting being single, romantically involved, married, divorced, and remarried. The men were also diverse in their educational attainment. Some had graduate and professional degrees, while others had high school diplomas and GEDs. The men also varied in their economic situations, with annual incomes ranging from $0 to $175,000. According to this research article, many poor Black men reject monogamous romantic relationships in favor of hypersexual masculinity to overcompensate for their inability to fulfill the traditional breadwinner role. They tend to view women as conquests or something quick to go through, not as partners. This is true for many lower income men, but there are many out there that do desire a relationship. So, brothers, we're going to talk. And I want to start with you, Henry. Do you believe that a man is supposed to be able to protect and provide for his wife and family? And what role does that pressure of being able to do so or not, their lack thereof, play in a man's decision to marry?
That's a great question. The first thing I'll say is that Brittany and I explained earlier, we're a unit, right? So that was always the first thing. We're a company. We're CEOs of our own company, right? So and Brittany, she's a CEO. I mean, she's a attorney. So for me, it ain't a secret. She makes more than me, and I'm a nonprofit leader, and I think I do well, and I think that if I wasn't with her, I'd probably be walking around with my stick like, "Yo, what's up?" But but being in this relationship with her, I'm humbled not because she makes more money as an attorney, but because she's taught me how to just be better with money in general. And because of that, I feel like I can be a provider and a protector and not have to do it financially, right? Like we got racks on racks in terms of savings because of her mentality to say, like, it's about our children, it's about our future. So she's already been motherly this whole time. Like, she became an attorney to protect her family before her and I were even together, right? Like, and she never imagined that she was going to be an attorney for her whole life. So the second part is that she's invested in making sure that I'm also whole in a way where she's already said it, bro. Like, in 3 years, you taking care of all of our family, right? So it was never, for us, money was a very honest conversation because we were able to talk about our investments,
Mm,
right? I think that sometimes it can be a challenging conversation because you're thinking about scarcity in the present, and you're
mm.
thinking about what you don't have or how you can't compete because it's about today. And I might not be able to take her out to dinner today because, Red Lobster is whatever, but y'all are not actually thinking about, 3 years down the line, like, we need to get this house, right?
Right.
3 years, 5 years down the line, we starting this bank account for our child who will go to college if they choose to, and money will not be the reason why they don't go. And that has nothing to do with dinner today. So being a provider and a protector, I am all those. I'm proudly all of those things, and we gonna be millionaires.
Yalla.
We yeah, we got our plan. We're gonna be millionaires, and I'm proud to say that she's been my biggest investor. Therefore, she's gonna reap the fruits of our labors.
I love it. I love how you're
Talk
so
your
like,
talk, bro. Talk your
come
talk, man. I
on,
love it.
come on.
Yes,
But
sir.
there
That's
was a
it.
part two to that question, though, Henry. What I want to also talk about is the role that that pressure plays, because you handled it with such a grace. Because some
Mhm.
men
Yeah,
would be
agreed.
like, "Oh, she's an attorney. She making all that guap. I'm not. I'm not ready. I can't.
Mhm.
I'm not. I can't. I can't deal with her because I can't take her to the steak dinner tonight.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm over here making a more modest salary, and that can play a pressure with men
Yeah.
wanting to get married. So what advice would you give to a man who feels like he's just not, I guess, worthy, ready because his money's not the way he would want it to be?
The thing is that, for me, this is my story. But as a man who is the only person who holds the wallet, you're never gonna be worthy,
Ooh,
right? That's just me. You never, if that's not y'all wallet, because if she's not investing in you, then there's something wrong on that side also, right? So I think that advice for men is like, think about what your long-term plan is. If that's going to be your wife, you're already thinking long term. You're already thinking one wallet. You're thinking our dollar gets this, right? For me, if you are married and you still got to give your half of the rent or your half of the mortgage, y'all ain't married.
mm,
That's just
expound
me.
upon that. Expound upon that, Harry, because that's how people live. It's like you pay your half, I pay my half. How we talking?
right. I'm not saying that as there's something wrong with it. I'm saying that we make decisions together. So
Okay.
when we put our money together, like, I couldn't imagine living a life saying I got to give her my half of the mortgage, but I would also want to go out with my peoples and have dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't imagine doing that. Like together, we work on a budget at the beginning of the month, every month, and we say, yo, we saving 40% because that's our investment money, and then this is what it takes to live, and this is our fun money. And it's never been, this is, you know, like collectively we out of debt, right? Collectively,
Wow.
well, besides student loans, but I never count that.
You said not student loans. I was
I
about,
never, I
that's
never,
what okay.
I never count that. But I say that to say that had I been thinking in my old ways, because prior to us joining our wallets, and we joined our wallets before we got married, prior to joining our wallets, we were always we always had a broke mentality. We
Mm,
always said, how can we do these things? Because we were thinking separately. When we
mm.
put our money together, it was very easy to pursue dreams. It was very easy to pursue our desires. It was very easy to start thinking about a future, thinking about a house, thinking about a family, because we were able to see the full picture. So for those who feel like it's a problem, that's unfortunate.
Wow,
like
I love
when
how you changed your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Now it's we got a pool. I love it. I
yeah,
love it. What about you, Fred? Protecting and providing. And you know, you and your wife, y'all are generous. Y'all like to help people. Y'all are so like, you know what I mean, out here changing lives. How does the finances work? And you know, any pressures around? Did you feel the pressure of being able to provide for her?
No, I definitely think it is the man's responsibility to provide and protect, right? Because one of the needs that women have is security, and you have to make your wife secure, and financial security is a huge thing. But I want to say even more than, and I want to commend you, Henry. And while you and Maria were talking, I said something, I don't know if it came through. I said you're a rare breed or rare breed,
Yes.
especially within our culture now, because oftentimes men ego is so fragile, a lot of people, that they cannot stand the women making more than them, right?
Mhm.
So it's just like, but you missed out on so much because, like you said, they're thinking short term and not long term. So for me, I'm grateful. Our lives right now, how it's set up, I'm grateful that I'm able to provide for my wife. My wife can choose to work if she wants or if she doesn't. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't always this way. When we first got together, my wife actually was making more money than I was. But and I think even at one point, because I was in school at the time, and I was the great thing, I was in school and I got hired for my engineering job and all of that stuff. But again, knowing yourself is so important. You know what I'm saying? And I think people, and I will get to that second part of that question, but here's the thing I told my wife, and I told her, listen, you're making more money than me right now. Um, um, I may have, because I didn't even have a car at the time. At times I would borrow her car, but I lay out a vision to her, and I told her straight up,
Mm.
"Stay with me alone, baby. You stay committed to me. It's gonna come a time you don't have to work. You will work if you choose to work. You know what I'm saying? Money it's not going to be a thing for you, because I had a vision, and that's one of the things that I stress to men. You have to have a vision. You have to lead. You have to have that longevity. And if you just having the vision is just not enough. But what a vision does, it gives you a picture. It sets you on the compass. It becomes a North Star. And then you have to have you're going to have the tenacity to go after that thing, right? So you may not be where it is that you want to be right now. You might be with a girl or with a woman who's making more than you. But if you know who you are, the character of a man does not consist in the abundance of things. Your true value of a man, it doesn't consist in how much you make. When people talk about providing, they always think about just in a financial sense. But
Mm.
providing emotional security, that's major. Providing in other aspect of your life, it's major, because she could be making the money, but there are also holes in other emotional needs that she has. Can you be a provider in those arenas? It's just not financial. Financial is important because money, you need money to live. You need money to pay bills. But your wife will be okay if she makes more than you. And you make money, she makes more than you, but also you are fulfilling those other needs that makes her feel secure, that makes her feel complete, and you guys are a team. right? So it's just not about just financial. You have to be the one who make more money. And it takes a man who knows himself, who is very comfortable in his manhood and in his ability to really go out there and get it and perform, to be okay with that. Because oftentimes a man who's purpose driven, because truth be told, certain career paths might not make just as much as another one, right? You have high paying jobs. But here's the thing I tell people though, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. You can
Mm.
have a person who have a high paying job making six figures, and you can have somebody who is making 60, $80,000 or whatever the amount is. But if that person's life is disciplined and structured in the way where the expenses is low, and say at the end of the year, for example, you say let's use $60,000 as an example. So you're making $60,000, that's your income, and your expenses at the end of the year say it's $40,000. You're in the black 20,000. You can have somebody who makes $125,000, and at the end of the year, their expenses is $126,000.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the red 1,000. They're broke on a high level. So from the onset, it looks like, oh, they have a high salary. It seems attractive, but when you look at the numbers, the person who's making 60 is actually more wealthier and living a much more healthier financial life than the person who has the highest salary. And what are you also doing with your money? Are you making your money work for you? Are you investing your money, right? Like Henry was talking about. So on providing financial security, it is important. But if your wife makes, or your girlfriend, whoever, the person, your fiance makes more than you as a man, don't feel insecure. What else do you bring to the table? What other needs are you meeting for her? Because you grow, and as you grow, as you become more valuable as a man, because money just responds to value. Money is attracted to value. Don't chase money, just become more valuable and you're going to attract money, right?
Say it, Fred.
We don't get in the marketplace, we don't get paid for the amount of hours that we work. We get paid for the hours that we bring, for the value that we bring into the hour. That's when you have some people two people can work 80 hours, 40 hours week. Somebody makes $100 an hour, somebody makes $20 an hour. It's the same time. Difference is the marketplace deems the person who makes $100 more valuable. So as a man, make yourself more valuable in other areas of your lives, and be that person who your wife, money is not even an issue, because when she looks at you, she know like, man, this person got me. I can go out in that world. It could beat me up, but when I come home, this is my haven. This is my safe place. I can't wait just to get into my husband's arms, because I know all the hell that I'm going through on my job or out in the world, when I get to him, everything's gonna be okay. That's the type of that's what makes you a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, but don't get me wrong. Make money, become valuable, push your potential, maximize everything that you can do. That's important. But do not allow that to be the determining factor. And if you're a person who, as a man, and again, it comes to understanding, it comes to growth, it comes to knowing who you are, getting to know who you are. Because truth be told, when I got engaged to my wife, I knew she was the one already, but I tried to delay too, because just being responsible, I wanted to make sure that I was in a financial position to be able to take care of her, because that's something that I had in my heart to do. Like, I want to be able to take care of my wife financially, you know. Um, so yes, you definitely want to be responsible. So there is a caveat to it, but don't let it be the thing that derail you, or makes marriage unattractive to you. Because here's the thing: if you're a person who will become invaluable, you're going to make more money in 5 years, 10 years, 3 years from now than you are right now. So by you making a lifetime decision based on where you are right now, it's telling me that you don't have a growth mindset. You're telling me you've reached your cap. And if you are, I just encourage you to reconsider the friends that you hang out with, reconsider the conversation that you're having, reconsider the things that you're exposed to. I tell people 3 E's that will change your life. It's education, exposure, and experience. And that middle one, the exposure, is so important, because once we're exposed to something, your mind can never go back to its previous state. Now your reality just expands. It's just a wow. When I became friends and knew people who were making $100,000 a month, I was just like, yo, hold on. What are we talking here? What do you know that I don't know?
Right. Right.
Because here's the thing, you're not smarter than me.
Mm.
Here's the thing, everything that you knew that everything that you were doing that push you in this place to make this type of money, $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, it's only because of two things. It's knowledge and time. It's something that you know that I don't know, and because you've been doing it over a period of time. So what it is that I need to know. So put yourself in those conversations, hang out around those people, and your income is going to be the average of the five people you hang out. We hear these things all this. It is true. It's science. It's happened. A rising tide raises all boat. That's a fact, because when people have an investing conversations and we're not talking about raises, we're talking about portfolio changes, and we talking about, just acquiring new assets and stuff like that. Your mind starts shifting, and people start being generous and exposing you to different, because it's things out here that we have no clue about. But when we knew, like our counterparts, they are exposed to some information that we don't know. It's just like, bro, and I'm learning some things now that I never knew before. I'm just like, yo, this game is rigged. Why didn't you tell us this?
Right. And I just want to, prophesy and speak it into existence that we going to go on a triple date with my husband in about a year or two, and we going to all be millionaires, okay?
Amen.
Declare it.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
And
Declare it.
give me till 2023 around there, we going to go on that triple date. And I'm going to be like, I told y'all, because I'm about to raise my social portfolio with whoever y'all got in y'all circles, because I need to talk to whoever y'all talking to.
But that's what it's about. I just wanted, because I know I said a lot, but I just wanted to say, yes, being a provider, it is the thing, right? But the essence of that is, the underpinnings is because your woman needs security.
Yeah.
Right.
Agree.
But if she's making more than you can still provide that security by meeting other needs. And also too, just to speak to the point about money setup, one thing I would share with people, listen, in my house, there's no separate, it's joint accounts, right? Joint accounts. But I understand, listen, we have interest, so we have a joint account. That's where all direct deposit goes into. My wife have a separate account. I have a separate account. You give yourself stipends, choose to do whatever it is that you want to do. Her upkeep, addition to that, do what you need to do. The joint accounts to pay bills, the investment savings, all that stuff. So now, whatever you do with your money, that's in your separate bank account, you want to donate, you want to give, that's you, it's cool. Because what it does, it gives you that level of agency or autonomy, right? You don't want to feel like, we just tied in together, even though we are tied together, but we are working on this purposeful union. But we also have, one of my addiction is books. I buy books like crazy because I read a lot, and my wife laughs at me. So I just like, this is my money. This is my separate account. I do whatever you know what I'm saying? Right. And you can go get your nails done, but we take care of home first. We take care of the joint first, to Henry's point, like all the things, the future, our children, your children's children, right? We take care of that first. And then we have things that, you're separate and you do whatever. So that kind of helps you. So I think for people who are more concerned about, the whole thing, giving the half of the mortgage, I don't rock with that either. So I would say maybe use that. Have a joint account, and then you have your separate account too. And whatever it is, make sure you guys agree, because you want to be on the same accord. Right. Yeah. Understanding is key.
Awesome. Thank you, Fred. So I want to be respectful of you guys' time. So I just want to wrap up with one final question. But Fred, you said something. You said a man to be vision-minded. And sometimes I tell, when Barack met Michelle, Barack was the intern.
That's right.
Michelle was his she was like not his boss, but like kind of like his coach, mentor, for the summer of his internship. And she said when he walked in, she knew. She was like, something was different about him. She was like, and Barack got to walk. He got a swag. So apparently he's had it since 88. So he walked in and she was like, who is this? And he was persistent. And, I'm sure he had a vision. And she said one time, and I think I saw this in her documentary, Becoming, and he was like laid back looking at the stars, and she thought like he was thinking about something like beautiful about love, and then she was like, what do you think about? He was like, economic inequality, like something crazy, like, and she was like, only Barack. But that just to goes to show where his vision was, like he was thinking about
Yep.
something about his purpose, not knowing what was to come, you know. And I'm just saying, like, you never know. Just because I am where I am today, seasons always change, you know. So I
Right.
definitely agree with that vision minded, being vision minded and purpose minded. So my final question is just why do you think there's such, I don't know, like trepidation, I don't know if anxiety or just a lack of desire? It's a little bit more common and prevalent for black men to say, I don't want to get married. What do you think that is, that's more the conversations? And I'm talking about my qualitative research and the data that I'm pulling from my dating and my friends who are single out here dating. And I could be totally wrong. And I'm not saying that there are not black men out there who want to get married, because they're out there, but I'm like, I don't know, they're not sliding in my DMs. So what I want to know is, what do you think this thing with a man want getting, sometimes with men wanting to get married, it can be like, it's like the end of his life. Like he thinks like it's all over.
Yeah, I think I could start with that. I think Fred brought it up earlier. Men are naturally supposed to pursue, right? Where that's what we were born doing, and that's what we do today. And I think that marriage sometimes is evidence that the pursuit is over. But to Fred's point, you never stop pursuing your significant other, because they could change their mind as soon as you stop pursuing. They can change their mind, and that's it. So I think for men, that instant gratification um, plays a part in wanting to get their partner, but then there's a fall off in wanting to keep their partner. And
Mm.
I think some men already know that they're not about that keep it life. Like I think some men are like, yo, like I'm gonna want it, but I also know I'm gonna want this, and I'm gonna want this, and I'm gonna want this. And when I had interpretation, it was because my mind told me that I wanted to prove to myself that I could continue to get and get and get.
Oh.
And when I grew up, I realized that I wanted to get and keep and keep and keep. So now my mental has just shifted, and being around the right people has also helped to shift that, because not only have I seen it in my parents, but they're some of my closest people are with their partners, and they're loyal to their partners, and we do stuff together with their partners. And my social capital is, folks who are older than me and folks who are younger than me, and I'm in the middle, so I get to learn from different people, and I get to be held accountable, and I get to hold other people accountable. So the problem of interpretation doesn't happen for me because of who I've surrounded myself with. And I wanted to just shout out my wife, because one of the qualities that I truly love about her is her ability to build authentic relationships, and not just with like friends, but with my family. And
Mm.
that was something that she did immediately, and she did it so well that it made my family closer as a result of what she's done for us, right? Like she demonstrated all the ways that as a family we could be closer. Because Fred, I don't know if this is the same with you, but Danielle, yeah, we're super close, but sometimes we don't emote what people classify as like affection, right? We don't
Oh,
always emote
really?
that, like my family, maybe other families do, but my family didn't always emote the oh my gosh and I love yous and all this stuff. I love you foreign, right? Like we knew it. We knew our parents loved us because they fed us, but but it's not something that they were going out there that they were saying every single day. But Britt came in and just started saying it. And now my family says it, right? And her family has brought me in, and I feel like I'm part of a fraternity with her family, right? And so just based on the relationship that I have with her and the relationship that I've had with our families combined, that also removed any idea of interpretation, because I was like, yo, if I'm not jumping into this, I don't want nothing. Like I literally, if it's not this, if it's not feeling confident about this and diving headfirst into this, then it's just because I don't want it. And that and that's the only excuse I could give myself. So it was a very easy decision. And the advice is, figure it out and you'll know when you know. But you also have to put yourself in the right places to develop that exposure, as Fred said.
Exposure, love it. What about you, Fred?
Yeah, no, man, it's major right now, and I hear the stats. I hear the stats. What I will say is, and it is real because numbers don't lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe you find what you look for. We get to define for ourselves what our reality is, right? So I would say this, and then I really get into what I mean. So there are people who go to school, go to college, get a degree, and don't even get a job in that field, and they got all this college loan.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this kid's still going to college. So just because something does not work or didn't work for somebody else doesn't mean it has to become your reality. You know, when we don't understand something, when the purpose of a thing is misunderstood, we're going to abuse it inevitably. It's going to happen because we don't understand the reason why. And I think a lot of that trepidation comes with lack of understanding of the true value and value added.
Oh, did we lose Fred?
I
He
think we did, Fred. He was getting in too.
he was getting in too. Let me see. I think he might have to come back on. But in the meantime of him coming back on, I do want to say that to my sisters out there, like there are black men who want to be married,
Hmm.
and there are.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
Fred, we lost you.
He's
Like
back,
you
yeah.
yeah,
froze.
you back. Yeah, that's why I was just like, hold on, what happened?
Okay.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
So yeah, so I think the last thing you heard, I was saying that it's a lack of understanding. Because when the purpose of a thing is misunderstood, when we don't understand something, we're going to abuse it. And abuse is simply abnormal use, right? It's two words: abuse, abnormal, and use. You put it together, abuse. So when we don't understand the purpose of marriage, we don't understand the value added that marriage can bring into our lives, we're gonna abuse it. We're gonna misuse it. Because when you think about, we're in a culture now that people talk about marriage, it's like, yo, people have this trepidation because they think as a man, if you get married, your life shuts down. This is like yo, you're done. You're out here. But no, your life actually expands. But it depends on your mindset, though. It depends on your value. It depends on what it is that you're after. If you're playing longevity, if you're playing long term, you understand the purpose of you understand the value and the miracle of compound interest. So if I'm with a person long enough and we're building this thing long enough, it's going to compound, and the value, the return that we're going to get out of it is going to be amazing. Then you jump into an investment, you get out. You jump into an investment, you can never truly see the return, right? A tree would never bring forth fruit if it keeps being transplanted. People are not planted. People are not planted in their own lives. So if I'm not planted as a man, I can't understand the true value of food because I've never stayed in anything long to really go through the process of letting my roots go down first, meaning well, my life seems like nothing is happening. I'm still growing, it's just not visible to everybody else because I have to set in my roots and then before I come up and bring forth fruit. So marriage is not attractive because people misunderstand what it is. You
Mm.
know, I live my life again, like I said, through the lens of faith. You know, go back to the beginning. Be fruitful, multiply, have dominion, right? It's not good that a man should be alone. You have to help me. The purpose of marriage, have a godly seed, a godly increase, right? So what that godly seed, it doesn't just speak to children. Your life will be profitable and purposeful in all aspects when you have a teammate. So the people who don't want to get married is simply because they haven't seen a model,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or simply because they're hanging around people who they haven't seen successful marriages, or when marriage ends, it ends real bad. So
Yeah.
so I get it. So when you see those things, so nobody wants to put their hand in the fire. Like,
Right.
yo, I saw that did not work. I'll be a fool to try it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say is, you don't know what that person did or did not do. That person is different from you. You don't know if they truly took the time to invest. People have a business, because I'll use the business analogy because people understand business and just the courage for entrepreneurship. We understand that you have to invest in your business for it to grow. Same thing with relationship. You have to invest in your marriage. Just because you put a ring on a woman's finger, it's not over. That's just the beginning. Because as you go over time, so now you have to read books, you have to acquire knowledge, you have to get new relationship, new friendship, people who will go in the direction that you're going. Talk to people who've been married for years. What's your secret? How did you make it work? If you have a desire to get married, or you have an inkling, and you're not in an environment that reflects that, do not let the environment snuff out your desire. Put yourself in another environment that mirrors that speaks to that desire within you. It's on you. Because the people around you may not know, because we only rise to the level of our knowledge and the level of our exposure. So I said, dawn the facts. It's your life. We get to define for ourselves what our life is going to look like. I don't care what the numbers look like, because you know what? Something ceases from being impossible if one person does it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, even if it says is 55, 45, whatever, right? Or it's 60-40, how I'm wired and how I've conditioned my mind is to look at the 40. It's not the 60. There's 40% of people that's doing it right. I want to be a part of that 40. So I'm going to seek those people out and say, what are you guys doing that's working? Because I want to be a part of this number. I don't want to be a part of the 60%. But sometimes, because as human beings, we are just wired and prone to look at the negative. But we have to train ourselves to look at what it is that we do desire, what it is that we want God to do in our lives and through our lives. And we understand that partnership is key, because one is too small of a number to achieve greatness. And if you want to be great, and greatness, I'm not speaking in a esoteric term where it's something out there. No, being a great man, being a good man, a person of character, a person who, when you walk in the room, you have a good reputation. People speak well of you. A woman who has the same thing. Your community loves you because you are giving. You want to be that person? Seek out the information if it's not modeled for you, because it is possible. There's people out here. Don't look at the negative. It don't matter. It does not matter how high the number is. If it's working out for one person, seek out that one person. And then you might just be a catalyst that inspires somebody on the other side to regain hope and come. Because the thing is, there's no manual, right? We don't know. We all trying to learn as we go. But somebody who's traveled the path a little longer than you, put yourself in that environment. That's how I learned a lot of what I learned. And the more I learn, I realize I don't know nothing. So when I get in circles, I keep quiet. I seek people who are older than me. I seek people who are further along than me, because I want to learn. I've always been like that as a kid. Like, my friends would be playing marbles, hanging around, and I'd be hanging out with the old heads playing checkers and listening to them just talk about relationships and stuff like that. And I learned, and I became really good at checkers and chess. And then they started liking me because I'll come back and I'll be beating them. And then I just start asking them questions and start listening to them talking. But it comes back to say, do not allow the stats, the number, to derail you from your path. The same thing to encourage the women too. Like, my sisters out there, you are valuable. Don't lower your standard. Don't lower your standard. So, but you have to define what your standard is, your non-negotiable. When I said don't lower your standard, there are some things that people hold in high esteem that it's just like, listen, we can grow into this. But there are some principal things that you should not give up, right? But you can't know that until you really discover who you are, until you really value yourself. And the brothers out there, man, listen, your life will take flight when you find a good partner. When you find a good partner who you're on the same accord, like Henry's saying, and you're legacy minded and you think about family and that type of stuff, man, it changes. So to your point, I understand, but for me, I don't look at the numbers. So
Yeah.
what is it that I want? Because I can speak about the effort other people are doing. I can speak about my effort because that's in my control. And also too, and I'll say this last thing, because I think also too the fear is um marriage right now, the responsibility and the roles has changed, right? Back in the day, man, you just provide, bring home the bacon, bring in a check, and the woman was the homemaker, and that's it. The emotional needs wasn't met. You look at Maslow hierarchy of needs. You talk about the physiology and the physical needs and all that. On the bottom, in the middle is love and belonging, and at the top is esteem and self-actualization. We live now because of the enlightenment of women and everything else.
Mhm.
We try to have our partner become everything. You're trying to find self-actualization and everything within your partner. And sometimes men run from that because they're like, yo, I'm trying to find my way too. I'm not able.
Yeah.
So your wife can be your best friend. Absolutely, my wife is my best friend, but she's not my only friend
Yeah.
because it'll be unfair to her. Because remember, in the beginning, I spoke about foundation.
Mhm.
You cannot overload anything. You put more load on anything beyond its capacity, it's going to crumble. So get in other relationship, men, other responsible and appropriate relationship that you can move some of that load off your partner. She's not responsible for your happiness. She's not responsible for your happiness. And but also be the person who seek growth and just know that, listen, at the end of the day, I bring it back to this choice. We get to choose what it is that we want our life to look like. And after you choose, you put in the effort and the time. It's going to take a little bit of time, even if everybody around you is saying something differently, you know, as long as you believe it and you do the right thing and you put yourself in the right environment, it's going to happen for you.
Amen. I agree. Well, this was amazing, guys. Like, I'm sorry, I just saw the time. I'm like, we have just been chatting a little longer than expected. But I thank you for just sharing that. And one thing I want to share is like, marriage isn't for everybody, right? Like Jesus himself, he wasn't married. You know what I mean? So if marriage is not for you, it's not for you. Cool, it's not for you. But I think sometimes in the conversations I have with men, and when we have this conversation, I'm never getting married, I'm good. I'm like, yeah, because you saying it in your cute 45-year-old self, you still got muscles, the ladies is still feeling you. But when 15, 20, 40, 15 years down the line and you 60, 70, 80, and you not as sharp as you used to, and things don't look the same, and then life has met you with challenges. Who wants to walk through that alone?
That's right.
Like
That's
you
right.
guys said, you experienced COVID, like, and you had your wives alongside of you. So those are the realities that sometimes we're like, I think when we're young, we think of life in our youth, like, oh, I'm in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. This is how I'm always going to be. So I'm never going to want to get married because of whatever reasons, but not understanding that you live life in levels and arrive in stages. So your life was going to look differently 15, 20, 30, and 40 years down the line. And you want to make sure that you're making the decisions today to prepare you for that life, because you're not going to be cute 58 in the club. Like, that's not going to look right. And I'm not knocking anyone who's 58 in the club, because 58 nowadays could look like a 35 real good, right? But I'm just saying, like, if you're that person still in that same space that you were 20 years ago, it's like, where's the growth? Like, where are you going? And I just want to thank you for saying and making this like black men are out here being married and doing it right. And there are black men out here who want to get married and they want to stay married. And I want that to be more of the narrative. That's why I love shows like Black Love. And I did this podcast episode because I'm like, I'm going to talk to men who I know are out here being married, being black, and being excellent. So I just want to encourage you, ladies, that this is possible and it's here. I'm talking to two men who I'm part of their villages, and I'm just grateful that we had this conversation, because it really helped me say, all right, there are certain things, certain nuggets I took away as a single woman. So my last question is, where can people find you on social? What else do you have going on? Any projects you want to promote anywhere so that people can follow you and support your work?
I would say so you can follow me at Instagram King underscore Kwame KWAME underscore Black. You can find me on YouTube Before the Crown Presents Storytime. And so I actually should have mentioned Before the Crown is an LLC that my brothers and I started to empower folks to not only work, but to also provide a hand for folks and always keep the mentality of who you were before the crown was put on your head. So we all got the crowns on our heads, but who were you and how hard did you work before you put that there? Never lose that sign or that characteristic. So before the crown, King Kwame Black. Before the crown presents story time. And yeah, Playworks. If you want me to play some games with your school, with your kids, and really ensure that we're providing an equitable way for kids that look like us to ensure that they're able to enjoy school and enjoy reap the benefits of school, then call me up.
Awesome. Thank you, Henry. What about you, Fred?
Yeah, I'm on all social at FP Banny. So on IG, Fred P Banny. If you just put in my name, I'm gonna come up. Conversation with Kings. I'm also on there. And yeah, as far as listen, everybody out there, man. One thing, I've been, just shouting from the mountaintop. We need community. So Conversation with King is an amazing community. We hold one another accountable, and we understand that you can't travel this life alone, right? It's a brotherhood, helping one another sharpen our vision and helping one another just grow in integrity, become emotionally intelligent, be respectable men out here. And for those who it's not a marriage group, it's just for men, period, right? And if you have young men, to also have a leadership academy, Conversational Kings Leadership Academy, teaching young men leadership skills and all of these things, because as we know, we've heard it said, it's easier to build young men than repair broken boys. It's easier to build men than repair broken boys, right? So um you know we want to build up boys into men, and then so that we don't get to the place where we have broken men that now we have to repair, because it takes longer. So that's why I'm very passionate about working with young men. So if you're an educator and an administrator, we have a program. Definitely bring it to your school, because that's something that I'm passionate about, and we're out here really equipping these young men while they are at their level, so they can grow and become emotionally intelligent. And so yeah, and just connect with us. Website is fredpbanning.com. And that's what it is out here, man. And I'm so, Maria, thank you for this opportunity. This is amazing. I had a wonderful time. Henry, it's a pleasure
For
meeting you.
sure, for sure.
My wife is Ghanaian. You've got you. So it's family. It's family. So
Already.
one last thing I would say: beauty fades. Beauty fades. So yes, look for somebody who is amazingly attractive, but look beyond just the physical. Because like Maria said, as we grow, our body change, right? When that beauty fades, do you still want to be with her? Is there something substance that's beyond the style, right? So listen, don't settle. Look for somebody amazing,
Real.
beautiful, but also understand the weight and the substance that matters as well. So that's it.
Don't settle, ladies. It's possible. These men, and y'all are just two of several
That's
men
right.
that I was like thinking to reach out to. And I was like, who do I talk to? Who do I talk to? And I have no problem like making this a whole panel. like,
Let's do it. Now, listen, seriously, let's do it, because we need to change the narrative.
yes,
So
we
I'm with it.
do.
Whatever.
We
Listen, I'm
do.
with it. Whatever.
I
Whatever.
trust.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
here.
you.
You got
Thank
my commitment in that, because we out here. That's the work that we need to do. We need to amplify our voice, because there's a lot of other noise out there. But no, we out here. You see.
like Fred said, we out here.
Yeah.
Like I said, we got black men out here being married, black and excellent, legacy minded, purpose driven, out here doing it. And y'all out here not only y'all doing it. Go ahead, Henry.
No, I'm sorry, because I know you got to get the last word. So I want to shout out you also.
Yes.
You are a queen, and the work that you are doing for these young women in this
Hey.
world is amazing. Like don't like. I know you shouting us out, but like, yo, you the realest one. So just want to say we appreciate you as well. Like thank you for highlighting this and surfacing the real conversations for our king and queens.
Oh, thank you. And if y'all just want to slide my profile in one of your single friends' DMs, like now you have full permission to be like, let me hook her up with somebody. I can get tested. New York is open. We could go get coffee.
Got you.
I appreciate that, because you know what? Like they said, closed mouth don't get fed, right? You got to let people know. Listen, I'm here. I'm ready. I'm ready to. So listen, we got you. But no, thank you. I second everything Henry said. The work that you do will embrace your legacy with those young women. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you for supporting. Henry, you have spoken to my girls. Fred, you're on the podcast. Cordelia is probably the most, like, his wife is probably like the most revered. Every time she speaks, the girls end up like walking away with tears. Like, she's so inspirational.
There you go.
She's so, of course, like that's my sister girlfriend. Like we met, gosh, like I don't know, sometime in college. How many years ago that was? So that y'all family over there. But thank you so much, guys. Thank you for supporting my work. Thank you for supporting this Brooklyn Girls vision. I'm just out here trying to, leave a legacy and be great. But this is amazing to see other people in our community who want to change the narrative. That Black love is beautiful. Black love is out here. You're out here being, like I said, Black, married, and excellent. So if you're listening and you like what you hear, you know what to do. Y'all better hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, wherever it is.
Where is it?
Like, subscribe, comment below, all of that, and share with your friends. You might be a girlfriend, you might be a married woman who wants to send this to encourage someone who's single. Send it to her. You might be, you might want to listen to this around men in your life.
Thanks.
Like purposely play it like while he's around, whether it's your brother, your uncle, somebody who could just encourage men to say, yo, it's okay. Like y'all out here being married, being Black, and being excellent. So like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with your networks and your community, and always, always, always be a woman who embraces her legacy. Thank you for listening, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.